everyone, and welcome to this session on trends on cloud computing with AWS. I hope you are ready for some very impactful and intentional messaging. Who's ready to get this party started? So who am I? My name is Hawn Nguyen-loughren. I am the Senior Solution Architect Manager based out of Atlanta, and I lead a team of managers. That means a team of what I call the Jedi Knights, the SA managers, and I'm also the co-host of the official AWS podcast. So what are we talking about today? We are talking about trends on cloud computing with app modernizations and containers, serverless, DevOps, oh my, and also AI, ML, and the machine learning, basically. And what are some of the next steps to help grow your skills on AWS Cloud? So one of the things that we want to start off is the why. So one of the things that we always know is that the only thing that is constant is change. And a lot of our customers we see are faced with unprecedented business challenges, but there are also incredible opportunities to reinvent themselves. And there has been a study on McKinsey on some of the things that they're seeing where cloud could deliver more than $1 trillion across the Fortune 500 by 2030. And early adopters can capture disappropriate shares in the total value. And there's about a $430 billion worth of investments in modernization and $770 billion in innovations, right? So one of the things I'm seeing is that there's a lot of conversations before when I first started was, why cloud? But now it has changed to why not cloud? So what are customers modernizing, right? Why are they doing it? Right. Well, first, let's say why. First, we want to reduce risk. There's a lot of security vulnerabilities that we want to make sure that is addressed proactively. And security is our top priority here at AWS. And to me, it should be with everyone because you want to protect the data and the environment that you have. The operational efficiency is another reason why customers are modernizing to reduce a lot of the overhead and remove a lot of the undifferentiated heavy lifting. Speed does matter, right? Consistent environment improvement, developer velocity. What does that mean? That means that you get to go to market quicker and improve the agility to increase the speed and ease of testing and iteration. So now the next question is, what are customers doing, right? So what customers need to drive success? Goes back to quick to market. How can you go from conception from your product to go to market quicker? And lower the cost of ownership. Some of the customers I see are not really wanting to be in the business of a data center, right? You really want to focus on your product innovation. And maybe there are some that are, but for those majority of customers that are wanting to go to market quicker, we want to lower that total cost of ownership for them to focus on more things that matter, right? The digital innovations to perform the high performance at scale and also secure the environment by isolation, right? Separations of concerns. So what are customers building? Some of the things that we're seeing is a lot of automations, right? There's infrastructure as code, what we call that, and also, how do we basically do that automation of that repeatable process? Lots of data, like data processing to gain insights of what's going on with potentially inventory forecasting or what that may be. Web application developments that we see there, and also there's quite a bit of mobile as well. And we see a lot of trends going to machine learning, and we'll cover that a little bit later. So one of the things that we see people, our customers do, is that you wanted to start with small, pieces coming together to what we call Lego blocks, right? The Lego blocks we can construct to build those modern applications or the front end web and web applications and et cetera. So we do that through these Lego blocks, but also we do have certain templates to help you get started on some things like web development. So before we get started, one of the things that I always like to start with in terms of going to the details is we do want to start with security. Now, AWS does support 98 security standards and compliance certifications that offer other than security. We also have PCI, DSS, HIPAA, FedRAMP, GDPR, FIPS 140-2, and NIST to help also supply that compliance, right? So in terms of the shared security model, right? AWS is responsible for security of the cloud, like things from like things that from the network and also hardware within our availability zones and regions. So we're responsible for protecting our infrastructure on the cloud. So what our customers are responsible for is you are responsible of things that you put in the cloud, how you're configuring your applications, how you're putting the data in. So there's that shared security responsibility of the cloud. So the other thing that we also do in terms of well-architected is for every innovation and every product, no matter where it is, we do want to make sure it is well-architected to make sure that it is reliable, sustainable, secured, cost-optimized, performance efficiency, and operational excellence. Now, some of you will say, wait, there's now 6. Well, yeah, there was 6. There's sustainability that came in to help really be more conscious in terms of lowering that carbon footprint, on making some of these very conscious designs on how we can be more, I would say, right size in terms of making sure that we have the right environment that scales to your needs. Scale in and out is what we want to make sure that we have the well-architected framework around that for what we do. So in terms of some operational responsibilities, there's a shift, right? So once upon a time, I used to work in a on-prem data center, right? So a lot of the things that I had to do is quite a lot of heavy lifting, right? So we at AWS, we want to provide customers that underappreciated heavy lifting. And what we see is a shift where we go from on-premise to most folks, including myself, start with EC2s, running that on AWS. Then that is where you would manage that, and AWS will not manage as much on this side. But if you shift over to the other side, when you're using more of the managed service, we actually provide a lot more of that undifferentiated heavy lifting from going to things like Amazon RDS, where basically that's the relational data services, where we can run your MySQL. I used to run MySQL once upon a time back in the data center. And once I moved things over to AWS, it's more and more shift over to AWS to do that heavy lifting, to procure that hardware and rack and stack. AWS does that, and the more that you go over to the managed service into a serverless realm, then the undifferentiated heavy lifting is more on AWS side, and we do ensure that those have the compliance and regulations that is needed. So in terms of compute, there are a couple of compute options, and what you see here is like what I was saying, that a lot of customers, including myself, have used EC2 first. Basically, what is EC2? That's your elastic compute service. So it's your elastic compute cloud. So that is basically your VM. So right, it's what you use to run your VMware, VM or VMware or whatever flavor that you have. And what we've seen is that you do quite a bit of infrastructure as code. I used to run chef recipes on my EC2s to build up the environment, or actually the instance. But the other thing that we're seeing is more and more folks are going up the stack. What does that mean, right? If you're running containers, instead of running it on your bare EC2 instances, you can use our Amazon EC2, ECS and EKS container manage, so that you don't have to manage one of your Docker containers, right? And we do give you those options. And as further you go up, there is a serverless options where you can run serverless containers, or maybe you just want to run your code in Lambda. Okay. So let's go into containers, right? What are the container options? So with containers, we have quite a bit of options for customers to run EKS or ECS, which is those are container services. You can run them on edge. We do have options to run some of the container services on an outpost, which is basically an Amazon AWS services that we can deploy on your on-prem. And why do customers do this? I see customers do this when they're trying to do their migration, when they're trying to start migrating their on-premises data applications and to the cloud. So they need something in the middle, or maybe there are some low compute needs they need for low latency. So whatever the need is, we do have that option for customers to run EKS and ECS on-prem. To now we have the edge and 5G. We got to see a lot of manufacturing customers running things on edge. They could be an agricultural company with farmers on edge where they have to do some of the smart farming at the on the fields, right? And we do have more of the EC2 option where you can run ECS on EC2. And there's different options for that. And then there's the serverless away. So as you can see, it's why we do this is that we want to provide the right tool for the right purpose. It's purpose built. And through the feedback we get from our customers, these are the options that we have. And I don't know if you know that over 90% of our roadmap comes from your feedback. So another thing is with containers, there are ways that you want to consider in terms of data share and how it's being leveraged, right? We do have some tooling for you to use the container services and do some web content management from some of the stateful applications that we're seeing, some of the use cases of containers, to more of the shared data sets where I've seen customers run EKS clusters with machine learning models to do rapid prototyping, research, R&D type of analysis. I interviewed a customer that do a lot of machine learning on EKS to test different genomics, which is pretty cool. Genomics on evaluating the RNA and DNA sequencing to help things with Alzheimer's, which is quite mind-blowing, if you ask me. One of the cases, so who uses it, right? So iRobot, it's my beloved little machine learning vacuum cleaner that just kind of does that for me at my house. iRobot needed a flexible machine learning platform that can run on-prem and on AWS Cloud. And so what they did is that they decided to run Kubeflow on EKS to abstract the infrastructure complexity so that their machine learning engineers can just focus on rapid experimentation. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's I forgot that. Yeah, there's actually gotten a little bit smarter. I upgraded my iRobot. So we're going to talk about serverless. So with serverless, how are customers adopting serverless technology, right? We want to build new innovation, and they want to reduce the amount of time for do-it-yourself, right? Do you want to spend the time to rack and stack the servers to start building, or do you want to get that bootstrap quick start to start migrating and modernizing on AWS? We do have some customers that are what we call digital native born on the cloud, where they start at AWS, born in the cloud, where they just do modernization. But most of the customers I've worked with are trying to do that rapid innovation modernization on in AWS. First they do lift and shift, right? But over time, when you start building out your application and doing the right sizing and re-architecture, we see a lot more of that replatform and refactoring as well. And serverless is just more than compute. You hear most of the time when folks talk about AWS, serverless, they think of Lambda, but it's more than just Lambda, right? We do have AWS Fargate, which gives you an option to run your containers serverlessly. And we do have data stores that are serverless. Our Amazon S3 is serverless, and so is our Amazon Aurora, which is serverless. So Amazon Aurora will run your MySQL and Postgres serverlessly in the cloud. And also we have our Amazon DynamoDB. And we do have levels of integration layers with our own kind of like, I would say, like an enterprise service bus with Amazon and BitBridge. We have something called an API gateway to register your APIs. We do have SQS, which is our simple queuing service, and our Amazon SNS for our simple notification service, where you can do something like a pub sub type of thing. We do have something called step functions, where basically it's a low code way where you can orchestrate your Lambda and your functions. And also we have apps for GraphQL. So who uses this today, right? So one of the cool customers, or we have many cool customers, right? So CocaCola, they use a lot of our serverless to do something called freestyle. So CocaCola is a great example of how they use the serverless strategy to enable the agility when they had to react quickly to changes brought from COVID pandemic, right? So they wanted to provide a touchless experience with their freestyle drink and dispensers. And so they built smartphone apps to allow customers to order and pay drinks without coming into contact with vending machines, right? So they built it on Lambdas, and the teams were able to focus on the application and built a lot of machine learning models from that. AI/ML, right? So what is AI/ML? So AI/ML is a way to enable computers to mimic a human intelligence logic, right? So a lot of we see a lot of overuse cases coming of that, and some of the things of deep learning. So what does that mean? So the business impact is to basically grow revenue streams and lower the business risk. So some of the industries we're seeing that are using this are from healthcare, life services to life sciences. Sorry, apologies. To enable some discoveries on some of the from manufacturing the new drugs, if you will. Retails for predictive forecasting, and financial service to do some personalization and perform credit decisions. And there's a couple of use cases out there that have innovated Alexa. We actually use it as well for our Alexa, our fulfillment stores, as well as our Prime delivery. And I won't go through all this, but we do have a AI/ML stack with the most broadest and complete set of machine learning capabilities. A lot of our customers do use things like PyTorch or MXNext that they run locally. They can run it on AWS. Up further the stack, where you can just use more of the AI services for things like personalization, or Kindra to do a little bit more of searching text across let's say for your sample wikis and such. DevOps. So what does DevOps looks like? So DevOps is more. So first of all, what is DevOps? DevOps is a combination of cultural and let's say philosophical practices, right? It's the whole you build it, you own it, you run it. And why you do it on AWS is that you want to have that getting started fast, right? Amazon provides you a way to provide that fast getting started. And it is a fully managed service and it's built to scale. You can program it through your CLI. We do have SDKs and CLIs and for you to leverage automation. We do provide some of those automations, and it's secure. We do have also a large partner ecosystem to help you on the best practices, and it's pay as you go. And I won't spend too much time on this, but we can automate all things from authoring to source to build, test, deploy, and monitoring with AWS tooling. But we also provide you a way to do it with third parties. You can, if you use Jenkins, I used to use Jenkins once upon a time. You can still plug that in. You can use Spinnaker to do the deploy, or you can still monitor it with the Prometheus and also Grafana with OpenTelemetry. So there's, we do provide that flexibility to plug in with your existing tooling. Training, right? So also when you are doing the training, we do provide learn in demand AWS Cloud Skills. So you can actually get started for free. And here's the QR code to do that. You can, I can also paste the links in here. And there's also ways that you can have a more formal education within your organization. Let me post it on the chat here real quick. Sorry. I'll post it in the chat a little bit later. So, so here's some of the things that you can get started, right? So there's free resources. I'll paste the link. Here's also the QR code if you want to start training now. Okay. All right, I'll paste in a minute. And then there's that. So definitely love to get you started. And this is the different ways that you can get started. And that is what I have today. So we have about 1 minute left. Any questions on the queue? All right. Okay. All right. If there are no questions, let me go ahead and copy over these links for you. And with that, I'm at time. And let's see here. Sorry. Okay, I got one question. Does Selenium test just functionality, or does UI testing styling? So I use Selenium for UI testing. I put it in my CI/CD pipeline. So if you have your Jenkins pipeline, one of the things that you can do is after you do your build, deploy, and run your Cucumber testing or whatever, another segment I would use is Selenium testing to spin up. Well, first you have to spin up your environment and point it to a UI and spin it and just test it. So with that, Selenium testing, that's the majority of the times that I use Selenium testing. There's different testing tools, but that's how I would use it. And obviously you can use that with AWS service. It's just another way that, how you want to orchestrate it. All right, any other questions? All right. Okay, so let me just go ahead and just put the QR code back on down here again. And with that, sorry about that. Let me just put this up at her again. Okay, awesome. Well, with that, thank you everybody for attending to this session, and I hope to see you in subsequent sessions. Thank you.